Hi there, good noon, and I once again welcome you to BYJU'S exam prep channel dedicated to your success. This is the place where we ensure that your dreams do come true. And you know that we have TISSNET approaching now, right? And consequently, we have also shifted our attention to TISSNET. You've already had a session with Gaurav Gupta sir, and then you have a lot of other allied sessions. And today, you and I will sit down together and go through a mini mock for the English section. So my name is Vikrant. You are on BP's channel for CAT preparation. If you are new here, I'd very strongly urge that you go ahead and subscribe to our channel. We keep bringing in a lot of relevant stuff. If you attend all these sessions, your chances of success are going to increase significantly. Yeah. So before I take you through the questions, let me quickly give you an overview of the exam for those of you who may not have attended any TISSNET session so far, or in case you've missed out on one of those earlier sessions that I or my colleagues went on to take. So the test duration, it is going to be a 100-minute exam where you'd have 100 questions. So I normally say that the moment you notice a scenario where the number of questions is equal to the number of minutes or more than the number of minutes, it is going to be a test of speed, and your question selection is going to be really very important in such a situation. Then the marking scheme, +1, but the real important thing here is that there is no negative marking whatsoever, which means that you are going to attempt all the 100 questions hopefully in this particular exam. Then the paper is generally divided into 3 sections. You have English, you have QA/DILR clubbed together, and then you have general awareness. So here is the breakup of the questions. So I think this number itself tells you that TISSNET focuses a little more on general awareness. And in case you have any doubt, the next slide will take care of that ambiguity. So see, there is no sectional time limit. You are free to spend your time on whichever section you want. You can attempt them in whichever order that you want. And there is no sectional cutoff either. But that said, there is one section where we do have a sectional cutoff, and that is general awareness or GK. So that's another pointer that tells us that TISSNET takes the GK section seriously. And the cutoff is usually around 35% of the total marks allotted to the section, which in this case is going to be roughly 14 marks. So you need to get this much in order to be considered. And then if I look at the cutoffs, of course, at the end of the day, when you sit down and you start solving the questions, you target certain marks. If I go by the last couple of years, the cutoffs for the flagship MA in Human Resource Management and Labor Relations course was around 75. Then there are 3 more courses that you may be interested in. So you have this course called MSc in Analytics. So a lot of people nowadays appear for that big data related thing. So the cutoff for that course was around 74. Then they've started this new course called MA in ODCL, Organization Development, Change and Leadership. The fees is a little higher as compared to some of these other courses, but the cutoff was around 70. And then those of you who want to get into hospital administration, you also have a Masters in Hospital Administration available, where the cutoff was around 66. Mind you, these are the cutoffs for the last couple of years. They may change if the difficulty level of the exam changes. By now, you are wise enough to bring in those adjustments. Then let me just have a look at some of your questions. Okay, so when I see here, I'm reading what you've sent to me. So Ayush says he's been facing one huge issue regarding the form process. How you can apply for health administration. Ayush, usually in such situations, the best thing to do is to fill the form again. So if you've already submitted it and you cannot change it, just go ahead and then appear for it. However, if there is a possibility of your not changing it but applying to it again, then you can actually go ahead and consider that. Yeah. The attitude says nothing can be done. Yeah, the attitude, exactly my point. No, had I read that sooner, I could have simply pointed you to his message. Last year cutoff. Murli, you have the last year cutoffs available on the screen. I have taken a margin of around +1. These are for general category. Okay. Chirag, if you are interested in management, then these are the 4 courses that TISS offers which are relevant for you. So I'd in fact suggest that everybody must apply to the first one. This is, after all, their flagship course. Thereafter, people interested in big data, apply to MSc Analytics. Do apply to MA in ODCL, and in case you have interest in hospital administration or your background is relevant for it, you can definitely apply to that as well. Right? So these are the 4 management related courses. Then the rest of the courses are not exactly going to be management related. JR Diablo, yeah, we did not even have analogies in the last 3-4 years. But I'll pick up a couple of analogies in my mock test tomorrow and we can discuss those. Until then, analogies are basically a mixture of vocabulary and reasoning. So I think they are going to be fairly easy, but I will introduce a segment for you on analogies. Don't worry. Okay, so let us just start with a mini mock today. In TISS English section, you get 30 questions, but because it is a mini mock, I will take you through 20 questions today. And once we are done with this session, do let me know which question types you want me to talk more about. For example, Diablo has asked me about analogies. So we have a session once again at 12 tomorrow. I can give you a brief pointer. I can do the same thing for some of these other question types as well. Naman, yes, reading comprehension in TISSNET is usually easier as compared to CAT and XAT. The questions are indirect. Probably around 1 or 2 questions are direct. The rest of the questions are indirect, but the difficulty level is usually on the lower side. Okay. So let us dive in. So let us see. Here is your question number 1. So I hope you've read the directions, right? So the first 4 questions are fill in the blank questions, and by now you are a champ. You know what we are supposed to do in fill in the blank questions. So here is your first question. I have aimed to keep the difficulty level similar or at times marginally higher than what you would find in TISSNET. So here is your first question, and your time for the first question starts now. Now, Ayush, this is something that happens quite frequently. I think if you fill the form again and sit using that new roll number for your exam, you should be fine. And let's not make it the last question from your side, okay? If you have any other question or concern, keep sharing it. Come on. So we are done with the time and we have answers from Murali, Naman, Abhiram. Okay, all of you think it is going to be C. So let us in the interim look at the meanings. You know difference, right? Members were in difference. Does that even make a grammatical sense? No. The committee members were in dissent over the budget for the function. Okay, so dissent basically means when you have some serious difference. Then deference basically means respect, and dissent is the act of coming down. So now that we know these meanings, let us see. Difference is grammatically not allowed. Dissent, the committee members were in dissent over the budget for the function. Yes, there can be serious differences in terms of how to spend the money or what kind of, or the quantum of money to be spent. Can we use deference? Wherein deference over the budget, wherein respect over the budget for the function. Doesn't make any sense in this particular sentence. And then if I look at the last one, dissent, where in dissent, we're coming down over the budget for the function. And dissent is the literal act of moving from a higher place to a lower place, or descent can also refer to your ancestry or heritage. Neither of these two meanings will be suitable here, will be apt here. So we can rule out D, we can rule out C. The best answer that we have here is option B, descent. Then I think majority of us have actually managed to get it right. Abhiram is writing static. What does that really mean? Absolutely, Business Maestro. That is exactly what I've told you, that I have tried to keep the pattern and the difficulty level very close to the actual exam. In fact, there are a couple of questions where I may have gone higher. I have not gone lower. Okay. In fact, I haven't picked up any previous year question today. Let me introduce at least one previous year question tomorrow so that I am able to demonstrate it to you. Oh, Naman, the best thing that you can do then is to start eliminating. But in a single blank scenario, yes, if you are not aware of the meanings of the words, it is better to move over to the next question, or maybe take your best guess, because in TISSNET, you don't have negative marking. Abhiram, you're talking about GK. We'd have a separate session for that, and the GK faculty can definitely talk about it there. Alternatively, you can look at the last couple of years of paper and you'd realize that yes, we do get some static GK questions as well. Okay, moving over to question number 2. Here it is on your screen and your time starts now. Okay, Ayush is quick. Right, so first up, let us start looking at the meanings. So, advert is basically what? You can say advert would basically mean refer to something in speaking or writing. For example, I've already adverted to the solar revolution. So basically I have mentioned or talked about the solar revolution in speaking or in writing. Then advert can also be used as a short form for advertisement, but that is informal. So that's not the meaning that we'd consider here. Adopt. Dhyane, adopt is god lena. Adopt is choose to take up something. Then you have avert. Avert can mean to turn away. Avert can also mean to prevent. And adverse simply means unfavorable. So now that we know the meanings, let us check. Can I have advert? Though he was unable to extract the best results from Parliament, he was always able to advert its worst excesses. Mind you, whatever we do need to justify the use of though. Though is supposed to join two things which are contrasting. Adopt its worst, unable to extract, able to adopt its worst excesses. These two ideas are then going to be similar. So the use of though will not be justified. We can rule it out. Avert. So he was not able to take the best, but he was able to avoid the worst. That is something that does make sense. And then you have adverse, able to, that is, even grammatically this won't go in. So the best answer here for us is indeed option C. Business Maestro, it is a good course and the placements are also fine, but you cannot really compare the average packages and the career trajectory with the management courses. Go for it only if you have really keen interest in that particular area. Then here is question number 3 for you. This time around, I've given you a 2 blank question. So unlike a single blank question, a 2 blank question is more reasoning driven. So even if you are not sure of the meanings of 1 or 2 words, chances are that the process of elimination can still help you arrive at the right answer. So the role of vocabulary gets diminished a bit in 2 blank questions. So go ahead and take a shot at this. I'll give you 5 extra seconds before I start the time. Okay, Murali has chosen his answer. Vicky has given multiple votes to option B. So far option B is ahead. Some of us are also choosing C, and then I have a vote for D. Let us see. So let's go blank by blank. The Chinese find that their economic aura far exceeds their military one. Do you have economic aura? You have economic power. But we do not use the word aura for the economic status of a country. So there is this concept in English, it is called collocation. So collocation basically tells us whether two words are used together by the native speakers or not. For example, we do use this expression chief minister. So you use chief with minister. But can I say chief master? We don't, right? With master, we prefer using head. So you have a headmaster. So you have a chief minister, you have a headmaster, but you cannot have a head minister or a chief master. Those expressions are just not used together. So we can rule out aura on the basis of that. So option A is gone. Economic strength, that works. Economic clout, yes, that works as well. Economic issues will not go in grammatically. You notice the verb subsequently is exceeds, singular. So you cannot have a plural noun here. So option D is also ruled out. So I know that it has to be just by the first blank. My answer has to be either B or C. So now let's read up. The Chinese find that their economic strength or clout far exceeds their military one. Nevertheless, they believe that at some point it must catch up. But to reach the state of a true global power, they must have a neighborhood that is competitive or benign. Now, if your neighborhood is competitive, will it help you in being a true global power? If your neighborhood is competitive, a lot of your energy, a lot of your resources are going to go towards dealing with those competitive neighbors. So if you want to become truly powerful, it is better to have a neighborhood that does not pose any challenges for you. And that is why I'd say that we should eliminate competitive and choose benign. Benign is kind, favorable, supportive, and thus on the whole, we should opt for C as our answer. So Muskan, it's actually pretty straightforward. You read the sentence first up, then you take it blank by blank and then eliminate. So it's partly vocabulary, partly reasoning. So if you're able to combine these two things, I'm sure you'd be able to pick up the right answer. So in fact, look at option B. We've eliminated option B purely on the basis of reasoning. You notice competitive as an idea does not go with contributing towards a country becoming a true global power, the neighborhood being competitive. Right? And that is why C. So this discussion should hopefully give you pointers towards the right approach for these questions. Here is the next one, the last fill in the blank for this test. And your time starts now. Okay. So B, another B, and oh, there is a string of B's happening here. So if you've chosen a B, just give yourself a pat on the back. You can like the session and show that to me as well. The correct answer is indeed B. It was very nice of him. So this is just a question that is based on the concept of dependent prepositions. In fact, every year TISSNET will give you around a couple of fill in the blanks where they test your level of comfort with prepositions. So be ready for it. But fantastic. Not really, Muskan. We cannot use for. Won't make any sense. It was very nice for him. So if you say nice for him, it means that there was something that was favorable for that person. Here we are saying that that person offered me a lift. So it was very nice of him. It was very kind of him. It was very helpful of him. So that is why of. And in case you do want to attempt more of such questions, which I do recommend you do go ahead and check this area called dependent or fixed prepositions. Okay, just attempt a lot of these questions. Then let us move over to our next set. So I will give you 2 questions, and for both of these questions you're supposed to answer them on the basis of the instructions provided. But I'll give you a hint. Every year TISSNET gives us a couple of CR, critical reasoning questions. So here are those critical reasoning questions for you. So question number 5, here is the paragraph. So I'll give you the paragraph on this page. On the next slide, you will have the paragraph along with the answer choices, but I'd be forced to use a very small font size for the paragraph. So I want you to read the paragraph thoroughly here so that you can read it even in a small font size on the next slide. Right? So here you go. There it is. Naman, normally around 5 to 7. Muskan, we have organized truckloads of reading comprehension sessions before the CAT. So, you know, CAT basically asks us a lot of RC. So there is a lot of emphasis on RC that happened, and even otherwise, I mean, if you look at it, my colleague Nikita took a session on RC a day before yesterday on the YouTube channel. Then there was another RC session happening on the app. It took place at 5 yesterday. I am taking a reading comprehension session at 5 today on BYJU'S exam prep app. So if you attend, that you join me for that RC session at 5 p.m. So the moment you are done reading it, just give me a yes so that I can take you to the question. I have also shared the question stem with you so that you know the kind of thought process you are supposed to use. Okay, so here you go. Here is your question along with the options, where, as I told you, I'd have to be judicious with the font size. So what's your answer? Give me 5 answers really fast and then I can start discussing it. Okay. So because it is an inference question, what do? We label every answer choice as true, true, false, and can't say. Now you notice option A talks about arbitration. It says it can be alleviated. The paragraph does not even mention arbitration. And therefore it is very clearly out of scope, and thus our label for this should be can't say. Arbitration. Then B, learning can be extended by using creative opportunities. Yes. In fact, if you look at the paragraph, hybrid solutions, expanding availability, bridging the divide on education aid. So if we use all of these things, what will happen? We'll make it easier for students to learn. So this is true. C is actually false. Notice limitations of textbooks to the students will help parents and siblings resume learning. Limitations. Limitation or availability? Limitation will actually have a contrary effect. You want it to reach everyone. So that's false. And because B is true, we can rule out D. So the best answer, which the majority has actually marked, is also the right one, option B. And here is your next question. The paragraph, and on the next slide, I'll give you the options. But this time around, I am going to ask you about the assumption. And once again, don't forget to drop a yes in the comment box the moment you are done reading the passage. यार बहुत कम अपॉर्चुनिटीज मिलेंगी आपको सीआर के क्वेश्चंस लाइव प्रैक्टिस करने की अभी इस समय. A lot of exams do not even ask these. So make sure that you make the best use of this. Terrific. So here is the question for you. So what do you think is the assumption here? Give me 5 answers fast. And those of you who want a bit of revision, an assumption is nothing but an unstated premise, an unstated reason involved in a particular argument. And we are looking at assumption made by historians. So historians say, so this is the relevant part. They say that, it is not real Sindhu Rakshak because sonar has not identified it. So what is the assumption? The assumption is that sonar equipment is needed to identify it. That's the only authentic way of finding out whether a particular ship is the one that you claim it to be. And that is given to you in option D. So that's the answer. Let's quickly look at some of the other options that we have marked. So A, thorough search by mini submarines is not sufficient to locate the wreck. It is not about locating the wreck. Look at the argument made by the historians. They are not saying whether the wreck has been located or not. They are saying that this is a wreck, but this wreck does not belong to Sindhu Rakshak. Right? So A is outside of the scope of the argument made by the historians. So irrelevant. Let's have a look at B. Modern sonar equipment is not sophisticated enough to locate old shipwrecks. Well, hello, this is going to weaken the argument by the historians. Whereas an assumption is a reason, an assumption is a support, an assumption strengthens. So this does the opposite job, so we can eliminate it. Same goes for C. C also weakens the argument of historians. Anything that weakens their argument obviously is not going to be an assumption. So I'd say B and C should be easy to rule out. And look at D. Necessary to identify real ships. Yep. And that is why we've chosen D as our answer. So that takes care of our critical reasoning. And with that, let me take you over to the next segment. 4 questions where your job is to identify the grammatical errors. So ready with your grammar skills? Shall we start? Here you go. Question number 7. These are the options. And your time starts. So you have a sentence. Then 4 parts of the sentence have been picked up. One of these 4 parts contains a grammatical error. You need to choose which one. Business Maestro, if you can write the complete sentence. You notice you've given me just one clause. So I don't know what the exact concern there is. So your time starts now for question 7. The rest of you just dive into this. Okay. So I have received a few options. So far A, news coverage of the terrorist activities. C, he is going to the West Asia for the, another A. D, happening over there. Okay, so the correct answer is option C. You notice whenever you use these directions, okay, whenever you use directions like east or west, etc., as adjectives, when you use them as adjectives, you do not use an article before them. So you notice we're talking about West Asia. So here West is acting as an adjective. So we do not require this the. He is going to West Asia for the news coverage. The rest of the parts are grammatically correct. If you can tell me what you thought was wrong, then perhaps I can pitch in more. So for the next 3 questions, whenever you choose an answer, how about dropping an extra line telling me that, hey, I think this is wrong. So then I can tell you whether that particular part is wrong or not. Right? So C. And here comes the next one. Question number 8. And your time starts now. No, on the terrorists. No, Naman. That'll make it incorrect. It was news coverage of the terrorist activities, coverage of something, right? That is why on won't make any sense there. Okay. Wow. Okay, let me give you a hint. This sentence is using an incorrect word. So if I start reading it, RMS Carpathia arrived on the scene, absolutely all right. About an hour and a half after, that's also correct. You need to have articles before singular countable nouns. After the drowning of the Titanic, now there is a problem. What is the meaning of drown? Drowning basically means death caused by being underwater, where you are not able to breathe. So if somebody goes underwater for a prolonged period, is not able to breathe, and as a result dies, then we call that death drowning, right? So I can say there have been 3 drownings in the lake close to my house over the course of last year. But here, if you see, it is a ship that has gone below the surface of water. In this sentence, it is a ship that has gone below the surface of water. So when that happens to a ship, we do not call it drowning, we call it sinking. People drown, ships sink, because they don't die, right? So 2 died by drowning in the sea, the ship sank in the sea. And that is why we need to mark C as our answer. So Abhiram, when you say the tense is not proper, we are basically using the simple past tense to talk about some event that happened in the past, which I think is absolutely okay for this. Oh, Gautam has a question. How much time should we spend on the English section? Gautam, ideally, if you can do it in around 25 minutes, you'd be in a great shape. I'd normally say that normally I'd say a good student can attempt all the questions in around 22 minutes. 25 is decent. Anything more than that will probably put you in a bit of fix, but then you generally won't have to worry. Frankly, see, the 40 questions of GK are not going to take more than 20 minutes, right? And then within the English section, so you are now left with 80 minutes and you have 60 questions. And within the English section, you may have synonym antonyms, you may have some really small, short, fill in the blank questions. Those questions again do not take long. So 22 minutes would generally be fine. Naman says arrived at the scene. No, Naman, arriving at the scene will also be right. So in this case, at and on both are correct. So it's just that on is not wrong. No, business maestro, there is no sectional time limit. Here is the next question. And here are your options. The time starts now. Muskan, we can plan to do that. Let's see. Let me just discuss it with my team and we'll see if we can have a dedicated session. I've taken a couple of them already, but we can definitely plan more. Okay, so let us see. Okay, again, can you also tell me what you think is wrong? That will help me address it. So let's look at A. The police seize. Now, some of us may think that police is singular, so it should have been seizes, but that is not right. Police is treated as a plural noun, especially in formal situations. So the police seize is okay. And that is why the police arrest is also okay. So if I say the police arrest a few persons, that's fine. And mind you, we are talking about a regular or habitual action here. And for regular or habitual actions, the tense that we use is simple present. Remember, I wake up at 6 every morning. I read a book almost every day. So the tense is also right. So the verb is also correct. Khushi, why would a few persons be wrong? A few persons will be a small number of persons, which is correct. What if they go out and arrest three, four people? Should be fine, right? But you notice what is happening. The police sees spool of manja, and the definition of manja is already provided to you here. Now tell me something. Spool is a singular countable noun. So if you're using a singular countable noun, you need to have an a or an placed before it. So you say a spool. So without a spool, it will remain incorrect. But I think we need to bring in a different change. Police will not go out and seize only one spool of manja. They are likely to seize multiple spools, and therefore I'd suggest that instead of using spool, we use spools. So the police seize spools of manja and arrest a few persons each time a human life is lost. So either spools or a spool, both of them will make it grammatically correct, but I think spools is going to be logically better. And that is why our answer here is option B. And here comes your last grammar question. This is going to be tricky. This is an advanced level question. Your time starts now. So, what's your take? Okay. Now, I did tell you that this is a tricky question. The answer here is A. It should not be according to me, it should be in my opinion. So you see, we use according to with second person or third person. I can say according to you, according to him, according to them. So normally when we use this structure, we are in a way saying that, okay, that person is kind of an authority to talk about it. But when we say according to me, it is a bit like saying that I am an authority, which is considered rude. So in first person, whenever we want to share our opinion, we don't say according to me, we say in my opinion. However, when you're talking about a second person or a third person, feel more than free to use according to. According to you, according to them. We don't use it with me. So replace according to me with in my opinion. So in my opinion, every student of Hindi literature must read all the best tragedies of Munshi Premchand, where tragedies basically refers to the tragic stories or novels penned by Munshi Premchand. So A it is. So that takes care of the grammar segment, and with that, let's go ahead and go through a reading comprehension passage. What say you? So now, but I do have this one challenge. I will not be able to give you the passage along with the question. So make sure that when you read the passage, you do a thorough job of it and then answer the question on the basis of your memory of the passage, okay, your retention of the passage. Naman, we won't say the Munshi Premchand, yaar. We don't use the before the name of a person normally. There are situations where we do that. One situation is where a proper noun is used as a common noun. The other situation is where a proper noun is being emphasized. Then normally we don't use the before a proper noun. Okay, so ready for the passage? So here is part 1. Just read it, drop a quick yes, and I will take you over to the next slide. So the passage is spread over 3 slides. So I have deliberately picked up a small passage for you. So you have this slide as well as 2 more. And once again, the moment you're done, just drop in a yes so that I can take you over to the next slide. Okay, the next. Done. So here comes the last part of the passage. So are we through with the passage? And by now we have practiced a lot of passages together, so I will not spend much time talking about it unless you want me to. So we just focus on the options that you choose. Questions now? So I am going to give you 4 questions based on this passage. In the exam, you'd usually have 2 passages with 5 questions each. Okay, so be mentally ready for that. But the passages are not very lengthy. Right, so here is your first question based on the passage, but the 11th question of the mini mock. Here you go. So what do you say? Which of the following conveys the main argument of the passage? So what's your take? Okay, so we're getting a B, we're getting a C. Give me 3 more answers and we can start discussion. Okay, one more, 2 more, and give me one more option so that I can start the discussion. I feel restrained, constrained. And we have it. Okay. So the government expenditure on ECE is adequate in some states, not mentioned in the passage. Does talk about it, but then is it the main argument? The overall tone is that we are not doing enough, right? So this is inconsistent with that tone. We can eliminate it. B, the government expenditure on ECE is woefully inadequate. Yes. The average spend per child is a fourth of the desired level. How do we know that? We know that we are spending 0.32% of the GDP, and they're saying that it should be 1.6 to 2.2%. One fourth of it, I mean, if you take an average, is going to be a little more than 0.4%. So are we spending a fourth? That's point number 1. We are actually spending less than fourth. Point number 2 is we are being asked for the main argument. Now option C does not convey that emotion. Option C is just a neutral fact-based statement. It misses out on the tone that we are not doing enough for our children, right? So therefore, yes. And when Naman, when you say woefully inadequate, the proposed is 1.6 to 2.2%, whereas we are spending less than 25% of that. So if a particular job requires 100 rupees, but you are being given 22 rupees to perform it, aren't you being given woefully less money? So that would work. And then D, only adequate funding for ECE by the government can save children. We are talking about saving children or educating children. The passage is about saving, is about educating, not saving per se. So D becomes broad. It goes beyond the scope of the passage. And between B and C, B captures the or is closer to the right tone of the passage. C is factually and as well as in terms of tone, not exactly to the point. So B is our answer for this particular question. Right? And I think I've already told you why woefully inadequate is all right. So if you're getting just 22% of what is required for a situation, for a matter which is very serious, I think we deserve those strong words. 12th, there you go. So what's your take on this? Now, this is a kind of question where I think if you were to refer back to the passage, you'd find it easy. But let me share what the passage says. So in the passage, we are being told that 32% of the children between the ages of 3 and 6 are being covered by ECE, which essentially tells us that the remaining 68% are not getting covered. Now, read this. The study provides an approximate estimation of the cost of bringing the remaining 68% children also under the government coverage. So, they're assuming that. So, why are they proposing that cost or that number? They want the remaining 68% to be covered as well. So they're saying that every child should be covered. So far you're covering 32%. Here is the cost for bringing another 68%. So their starting point, their fundamental assumption is that every child between the age of 3 and 6 should be supported by the government, and that is why B is the best answer choice. A is something that can be inferred on the basis of this statement. I mean, it can be an inference, although it is mentioned in the passage elsewhere. It will not be an assumption. And you know that if you want to eliminate your options in an assumption question, you can always use the negation test. More on that later. Here is your next question. Which of the following strengthens the author's argument? If you remember the main idea of the passage, this is an easy question for you. Okay. So fair amount of answers, and yes, I think I agree. A should be the answer for this particular question. I haven't seen anyone else marking anything else, so we don't even then in that case need to discuss it. Here comes the next question for you. The last one based on the passage. So A was fantastic, absolutely correct. Then guys, if you are enjoying the session, if you think these questions are helping you learn and practice, shower that love by hitting the like button. Do press the like button so that we know that the session is going along the right directions for you. So the session is useful for you. So which one for question number 14? Oh yes, I mean you guys are on a roll today, huh? So yes, the correct answer is D. So they are talking about inadequate funding, they are talking about insufficient coverage, and therefore D is the correct one. Gautam, yes, I've actually tried to remain very close to the difficulty level. There are times when we do as teachers, tend to go overboard by giving you questions which are significantly tougher. But TISSNET is not a very difficult exam in terms of English. GK could be a challenge, but most of the questions that I'm taking you through are pretty close to the actual difficulty level. Some of them are tougher. Okay, so that takes care of the RC passage. So what waits for us next? 4 questions where you'd have instructions before every question. So shall we start? There you go. So select the most appropriate synonym of the underlined word from the given options. Your time starts now. Sam's Durge, if you can make it a little more specific, that I can help you even more. And no cheating, okay? Nobody will start Googling the meanings. So, okay, so let us start our discussion. So, frivolous, what does the word frivolous means? Frivolous basically means not showing a serious attitude or a respectful attitude. So, there are times when you're supposed to deal with a situation with a certain amount of seriousness, certain amount of respect. But if you don't show that respect or that seriousness, we'd say you being frivolous. So, what is courteous? Courteous basically means polite. Courteous means respectful. That will become an antonym. So we can rule it out. Reverent once again is respectful. So opposite, we can rule it out. What is sober? Sober can at times mean serious. Sober can also mean not drunk. Sober can also mean something which is not flashy, बहुत ज़्यादा तड़कीला भड़कीला नहीं है. So this will also be an antonym. We can rule it out. What is balmy? Balmy means very silly or foolish. So this is not an exact synonym of frivolous, but it is still in the same ballpark. It tells you that a person is not treating things with adequate seriousness, and that is why we should opt for D as our answer to this particular question. Right? So D it is. If you've chosen D, that's absolutely correct. Okay, 25 Pastel has shared upon sober means opposite of Ravi Shastri. I don't know. I wouldn't know, but maybe you have some information. Okay, here is the next one. Once again, choose the appropriate synonym for the underlined word. Your time starts now. Okay. So let us see. Let's have a quick look at the meanings. Okay, so apropos basically means very appropriate to a particular situation. Right? So you already know the meaning of frivolous. That's not appropriate. So A can be ruled out. What is inconsequential? Inconsequential means something that is not important or something that is not significant. So once again, cannot be used as a synonym for apropos. Insignificant can also be ruled out. Pertinent, on the other hand, means something that is relevant, and things which are relevant are also things that are appropriate, right? So our answer here should indeed be option D, which is something that I think almost all of you have also gone on to choose. Okay, here comes the next question. What's your take? So this time around, you are supposed to choose the antonym of the underlined word. Okay, so don't forget, antonym, not a synonym, and your time starts now. Oh, business maestro, that's an interesting way of approaching it. And I'm glad that worked for you. That approach actually made the question easy. Okay. 25 past 11. You sure? Remember, the question is about picking up the antonym. So what is the meaning of the word compunction? Before that, here's an interesting phrasal verb. Okay, stitched up. If somebody is stitched up, then it means that he is framed to deliberately make someone look guilty of doing something, right? So we can use it in a sentence like, he claims he was stitched up by the police. Now coming to compunction. Compunction is a feeling of guilt or a feeling of anxiety about something that you have done or you are going to do. So if you have no compunctions, it means that you don't feel that guilt or anxiety about doing something wrong or doing something basically. So we are looking for an antonym. What is contrition? Contrition basically means the state of being remorseful. Okay, where you feel guilty. So that will become a synonym of compunction. So that's not our answer. Qualm once again will be that uneasy feeling of doubt or worry or fear. No. So if you have qualms about your conduct, it means that you're not very sure about your conduct. You feel uncomfortable, or I can say guilty, doubtful. So that will still be a synonym. Penitence. Penitence is showing sorrow or regret for something that you've done. You're basically admitting that you're guilty. Whereas defiance, look at defiance. Defiance is no guilt. Defiance is open resistance. So the other three are synonyms. I think defiance is the only one that can actually go here as farthest in terms of that meaning. So I'd say it's not exactly a perfect antonym, but given these answer choices, that has to be the best answer choice for us. So A, B and C are all synonyms because compunction means guilt. A, B and C all mean that we somehow feel guilty or doubtful about our own conduct. We are looking for an antonym, remember? So here comes the next question. Most appropriate antonym of the underlined word, and your time starts now. Come on, 2 more questions to go. Remain focused. Let's just stay focused. Let's just work on it together. Okay. 25 past 11. I read that. So let us see. Okay, so what is knavery? Knavery is basically cheating or dishonesty, right? So now rectitude means, if I were to put it simply, I'll say morally correct behavior. So definitely an antonym of knavery. Cheat is a synonym. Let's rule it out. Ferocious is somebody or something that is marked by, violent energy. So it is neither a synonym nor an antonym. You can rule it out. Colossal simply means very great in size or very great in force. Once again, is neither a synonym nor an antonym, so it will be irrelevant. The best answer for us here will be knavery. And here comes your next question. Read it on the, so solve it on the basis of the directions provided. So you've been given 4 words. You're supposed to choose the odd word out from the given set. And your time starts now. So what's the answer? So odd word out questions are also a combination of vocabulary and logic. Now, if we look at the meanings of these words, hopefully that will help. Erudite is somebody who is who has great knowledge. Okay, or in other words, somebody who is very knowledgeable. Okay. So knowledgeable is again somebody who has great knowledge. Lettered. Now lettered actually has multiple meanings. Lettered can mean somebody who is learned. Lettered can also mean somebody who is well educated, especially when it comes to literature and arts. And of course, lettered can also mean literate. Padha likha. And then you have artistic. Artistic, basically, an artistic person has skills or ability in painting, dancing, singing, etc., in the domain of art. So if you see A, B, and C, all the three talk about people who possess knowledge or who are highly educated, whereas artistic is a different word altogether. It's in a different category altogether, and that is why the odd word out here should be artistic. And with that, let me take you over to the last question of our mini mock today, and that is another question type that we get asked in the exam, and that is parajumble. So normally when it comes to TISSNET, you get 5-sentence parajumbles where they give you 5 sentences and they ask you to arrange them. Not exactly arrange them, because you do have multiple choice questions. These are multiple choice questions, right? So you have options. There are times when they give you one sentence as a fixed sentence. So they give you the first sentence of the paragraph, and then they'll give you 5 jumbled sentences. That generally makes the question type easier, but the difficulty level usually is not very high. So here is a parajumble for you. In the exam, you typically get 2 of them. I've brought in 1. So what's your answer? A, B, C, or D? Go ahead and tell me. So what's your answer, guys? What's your answer? This should be easy. Come on. Focus. Okay. So let's see how I do it. You notice in sentence C, it says that there ought to be an antipode, and B says this antipodian. So this basically tells me that C and B is a mandatory pair. Now, I don't see CB in A, I don't see CB in B. CB exists in option B. Sorry, this should be C, my bad. How did I ended up repeating it? So this is option C, okay? So it is in option C, it is in option D. So I need to look further. You notice D says it wasn't until 1820 that the continent was supposedly found by 3 separate groups. There was a Russian expedition. So when you introduce groups, it's only then that you'd start talking about these. So I know that E should come after D. But in option C, E is before D, so that can be eliminated, and that is why the best answer choice for us is D. For more than 2000 years, existed only as a landscape of imagination. Then here is that imagination. For centuries they speculated. In 1820 they found it, and then the details. So A, C, B, D, E. Option D. So you notice, unlike your CAT parajumbles where you had to arrange everything, here you can actually take advantage of the answer choices, eliminate, and end up solving this question faster. Naman, if you put A, D as a combo, where would you put in B and C then? So in D, you are saying that it was found, But then in B and C, you are again talking about Antarctica as a hypothetical. So we starting with by saying it is an imagination, then we are saying it is found, then we again go back to saying it was an imagination. That will make the process, they'll make the sentences incoherent. They'll break the flow. So D it is. So far, if you've liked this session, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And here is a thought that I want to leave you with. Change is inevitable, growth is optional. देखो जिंदगी में चेंज तो आएंगे ही, उनको उनके साथ अडाप्ट कर करके ग्रो करना ये हमारे हाथ में है. सो मेक श्योर दैट यू कीप डूइंग दैट. एंड in case you know of people who are preparing for CAT 23, do point them to us. And if you are somebody who's here and you are targeting CAT 23, you'd find the link in the description. In case you know anybody who's wondering how to manage your CAT prep with your job or your work, we'd have this session being taken by Saral sir today. The link is once again in description. You can look at that. And now those who are writing TISSNET may also be writing CMAT. So we have this All India Open Mock for CMAT happening between 21st and 29th of January. Make sure that you do not miss out on this exam. A lot of question types in CMAT are similar to the kind of questions that are asked in TISSNET and Maharashtra CET. So it'll be a good practice for you. Practically every day, Gautam. Absolutely yes. And if you have any question after this session, we are wherever you are. You can touch base with us anywhere. We'd love to help you further. And tomorrow at 12, we'll have another mini mock for TISSNET. I hope don't miss out on attending the session tomorrow, because there is a special type of question that TISSNET asks in its exam in the English section, which is not 100% English. I am going to introduce you to that question type tomorrow along with verbal analogy. Right? So before you sign out, do press the like button, and I look forward to meeting you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Take care.